What's going on, everybody? John Utter with you. It is Friday, October 4th, 2024. How's everybody doing out there today? This is a really good month for PS Plus, as you have WWE 2K24 Dead Space and Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. That is the latter. That is what I'm reviewing here for you today. It's a short game, about 4 hours, and then you have some side content. You want to know why I didn't get any sleep last night and why I probably won't for the next couple days? It's because I played this game. And you're going to say, John, what the hell are you talking about? This just looks like a cutesy dating sim. Are you on drugs? No, I'm not. And this is not a cutesy dating sim. In fact, heed my warnings. You'll see the warnings from the company itself. Again, the initial release date, June 30th. 2021. This game is ridiculously popular, and now Reddit's exploding again as this sits free on PS Plus. Again, this is free on Steam, not the Plus version. The Plus version, though, however, is going to get you access. I'm just reading this off of their direct content. New side stories that doesn't have any of the horror elements, although we're going to get to that in a moment. Totaling hours of new content, 100 plus unlockable images, game art, wallpaper, never before seen concept sketches, music tracks, unlockable songs, a lot of other stuff for you to explore. All that's well and good, as this is a free download, and even for the $15 to get the Plus version, if you just wanted to get it right now on Steam, I definitely think it's worth it. Although I cannot recommend this game to anyone because of the themes that we will talk about. So, what is this game? It is disguised. Again, I will give you that as a virtual dating sim. If you've ever read any manga, you ever watched any anime, and you deal with any of the high school stuff, I'm not ashamed to say that I've done that in the past, and if anything's good, I probably still will watch it because Hulu's got some of that, and it's not that expensive. I'd be like, okay, you'd be one of the typical male protagonists that wants to get a girlfriend that doesn't have any skills and all that, and they somehow end up getting the hottest girls in the school where they go. You've seen that story before, you've heard it. You might enjoy some of that. Well, what about if you intertwine that with a horror element? So, okay, you got the 4 hours, and I'm not going to give you any major spoilers here, and I promise not to give you any scaring stuff because that's best to be experienced blind, and also I don't want to scare the hell out of anybody for no reason. Just know the warnings going in. So you think you have that for the first couple hours, and you're just getting through the text boxes. Really, it takes about an hour and a half for everything else to start to pick up because you're just with your friend Sayori. You go to a literature club. She wants you to join. Feels like you don't have any skills. Wants you to make some friends. Fine, good, well enough. Go to a literature club. Hey, for me, I'm a journalism major. I'm not much of a poem guy, but I do like to be able to express myself through writing. That seems pretty cool. I'll give this one a shot. And then when you figure it out after about an hour and a half and you get induced to Yuri, Monica, and the like, these girls and everything else that you know start to change. And then some of the elements that you deal with in the game, and I'm not sure what YouTube is going to allow me to say because it's heavily censored nowadays, that you will be dealing with topics such as harm, self-harm, depression, drugs, anxiety, all the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Now, unfortunately, I think a lot of us deal with these things alone, and that is never what you want to do as a talking point for life, right? You always want to be around your friend group, never struggle alone. That's what I tell people. Hell, I even say reach out to me. Even if I don't know you, I'll lend an ear and talk to you because you don't want anyone to struggle alone. And I think that this game also deals with some of that. But how do you say, how is that possible? It's dealt as a cutesy dating sim. Well, you're about to see right now with some of the warnings and everything else. So what makes this a psychological horror game, and why am I dismissing that? Well, I'm dismissing it now for the sense of not showing it to you to not spoil it, but let's take it this way. What is the scariest game that you played as far as psychological horror? I think a lot of you guys, you could say Layers of Fear. You can mix in some of the newer games, but I'll go back to the old school, PS2, at least for me, PS1, PS2, Silent Hill trilogy, the initial 1, 2, and 3. I know they're all different games, but those games are incredibly scary. Why is Silent Hill scary? It's not the violence and gore that always gets you. You've seen enough of that stuff from Friday the 13th, right? I don't think any of the... Sometimes gore does scare people. That really doesn't bother me. It's the psychological mind F, the mind melter. That's what Doki Doki Literature Club does. It scares you. It's honestly traumatizing a little bit. I hate to use that word, but I feel like I have to. It's horrifying, it's traumatizing, and as the game starts to go through and the events progress, a major event hits you like a bus. It comes completely, maybe to you, maybe not, out of left field. I thought it was a little bit out of left field. I didn't realize things were going to get so bad. I didn't realize what was going to happen was going to happen. And you just try to persevere through it. And if the major event hits you and you need to take a break from the game, I know it's not particularly long, as I've said, but you need to take a break. There is no shame in that. Take a break, go watch something funny, go do something else, and then jump back in if you want to finish it. Hey, if you don't want to finish the game, there's plenty of other people that have played it that can give you a little more comfort. If you do want to see what happens, if you're interested in horror, psychological horror, but even that messed with you a little bit too much, there is no shame in that, because I'll tell you, after that event, and after some of the things where you have to kind of restart the game a couple times between the 3.5, 4 hours before you get through the full playthrough, that I had my hand over my eyes and I turned the sound down a little bit. I'm not even fucking with you when I say that. I did those two things because I was waiting for the next event to come. I was prepared to be scared shitless, and I promise I will keep the swears and everything else to a minor, but I gotta get this point across that I was waiting for the next event to happen, and I knew something was going to happen at some point, but you never knew when to expect it. But I do think this game does an excellent job with visual and audio cues. You'll start to hear some of the music. That's very good, by the way, but start to hit a little things out of key. Some talking points with some of the characters, like, that doesn't sound right. That's mildly disturbing to, oh my god, this feels like The Shining. You know what I mean? Just something that completely horrifies you, like that bathtub scene with Jack Nicholson, correct? In The Shining, if you've ever seen that, I think that's something that sticks with you forever. And that's one of the most disturbing things in the whole entire movie. And yeah, I could also say it like this: as uncomfortable as I was, I did want to see it to the end, and I do think this game is a completely unique experience that should be experienced once. However, this is not a game that I can recommend to anybody, because if you're feeling a certain kind of way, if you're prone to feeling a certain kind of way, or you're dealing with some stuff, this is not a coping mechanism type of game. This is a game that's going to force you to need therapy after you play it. If you like those type of games, well, Doki Doki Literature Club Plus is going to be right up your alley, and psychological horror, if you're into that. I think this is so unique that the psychological aspect of this game is a 10 out of 10. Whether or not some people can look at the text boxes and the visual stuff and say, geez, that's really fucking boring, how could you even deal with that? If you like the mind-melting psychological horror, this game's perfect for that. I just can't recommend it to anyone else because I don't want anything to happen to you after you play it if you have to deal with anything in your mental state. And if you don't have to deal with anything in your mental state, maybe your brain's too fried for anything else, that I will worry about you a little bit in that sense. So the ports, a little bit different there for Plus, right, from the console, because apparently when you go to play stuff on PC, you will be messing with files, moving things around, deleting things, changing things. You'll know exactly what I mean if you watched a little bit of the videos, you listen to me talk, how you get to the hub where you can kind of move things around and figure things out, talk to different girls. When you're dealing with the poems and the words you saw there earlier, you can kind of change some events and get their critiques and feedback, which I think is pretty cool. But you'll find that the events and everything else that you do, they're very intertwined, and if you start doing some things in your subsequent playthroughs that you're not supposed to do, you're going to pay the price, and you're going to need an extra pair of shorts. So that's all I will say about that. This game is pretty good as far as the psychological horror, and it's more unique than anything that I've ever played, and honestly, I'll just say it to you forthright, it's the scariest game I've ever played. That involves like layers of fear, the Silent Hill trilogy, some of those games like that. There's a lot of scary games. There's a lot of yandere games where you get stabbed and things like that for girls that if you don't do exactly what they want you to do, that they'll take you out. Games like that. But I think Silent Hill was one of the ones that really stuck with you. It wasn't just the blood and gore of Resident Evil, unless you were a kid and it scared you in the first one. I agree, that's the scariest one. Silent Hill was the one that took the cake. This game might be scarier than that. And I'm just telling you that in all honesty. So this game's available on PS Plus right now for free in October. It's also ported everywhere else, and you can pick it up on PC. Do I recommend that you play it if you're a horror fan? Absolutely. Can I recommend it to you otherwise, or even if you're a horror fan and you have to deal with some mental states? Absolutely not. This game is not for the faint of heart. It's not for kids. It's disguised as a cutesy dating sim, but it's anything but that, and strap in, because even some of the uncomfortable, scary stuff, I had a very uncomfortable laughter on some of these too, which didn't make you feel very good, and some of the elements that are in the game will completely shock you out of left field, and leave you with a disturbing feeling that will sit with you for a long, long time. Buckle in and grab some popcorn. Maybe play this with some friends. Give me some comments. Let me know what you think. And good luck to anyone who plays it. Peace, everybody.